So good morning, everyone. Good
Good
morning
morning.
and
Good
welcome
morning.
to the community conversation on the food desert in St. Paul's. I am Councilwoman Angela Williams Graves, and I am the Super Ward 7 representative who covers about half the city, but that half the city includes the St. Paul's Quadrant. I want to thank those of you who were waiting patiently. We were waiting to get some folks online. We are still missing a couple of people, but as I told our guests, I'm playing hostess and producer today with this. So I'm excited and nervous all at the same time. But just bear with me. We are here in the spirit of really trying to do something incredible and to do something good for our community. And so one of the things that I want to make sure that we talk about is, hey, I see Steve Paget, I see Belil, and I see Nick out there. Thank y'all so much for hanging out and waiting for us to get started. And we want to invite you to share the link. And I don't even know how to do that watch party thing, but people do. And so if you're able to do that, please share it and let me and make this presentation go viral. It will repeat on my Facebook pages. It will also go to on Monday. An upload of the conversation will go to the city's YouTube page. It'll be on my YouTube page, which I've got all my stuff on my YouTube page. My YouTube page is not political or professional. It's just all my stuff. So you'll see real estate stuff and you'll see this conversation as a city conversation. And I don't know if my lunch and learns are there, but anyway, that's all there. But I just want you to know that there's it will, if people have missed it, which I've had people tell me that they may not be able to be here, that they can still see the presentation and they can still contact me. So I'm going to give you my contact information up front, and then I'm going to give it to you back on the end. It's angela.graves, and it's ANGELIA.graves@norfolk.gov. If you leave the I out of my first name, it may go into the black hole of emails and I may never get it. But, and so just feel free to reach out to me in an email. There are a couple of folks who are kind of taking notes and whatnot here in the background so that we can capture everything and all of the ideas that are going to be presented today. And this is really an opportunity for us to, as a community, to roll up our sleeves and to roll up our sleeves and to come together and to find community solutions. Because as one of my constituents pointed out, which was sometimes you need people to point out the obvious, right? This corporate America is not the salvation, and corporate America is not going to be the long-term sustainable answer to this problem. We go through this every few years with grocery store people, and for one reason or another, we just don't fit the demographic, right? And so that part of it kind of is what it is. But if we can come together as a community and find community solutions, possibly creating some community entrepreneurs out of this situation. There's always, in every situation, there's always an opportunity. Every negative situation always presents an opportunity. And so there is an opportunity for us to create some community collective cooperation, but also to possibly create some entrepreneurs. So I'm going to ask Henri, Dr. Henri Parson, if she would start the conversation off with looking at community, looking at the health aspects of not having access to fresh fruits, vegetables, things of that nature. What are some of the health aspects? Spend a few minutes on that. I'm going to take myself out of the conversation, mute myself out of this conversation for a little bit. I want to pull some statistics to be able to give you after this. Good morning, Gerald. Good morning, Charlotte. Good morning, Kim Stringer. Yes, you have sent me a whole bunch of emails. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. But Dr. Parson, Dr. Parson just kind of, I will say, this is just a full circle moment for me because we went to high school together. And it's really nice when I get to see folks who went to high school with little old me and they've got doctor initials and all that kind of stuff before and after their name, that they've been able to go on and do well. And she's with EVMS. And so just tell us a little bit about what the lack of healthy food and vegetables. And then we've got Deirdre Love from Teens with a Purpose and Alicia Burke, who's one of our residents, who's going to talk to us about some of the practicalities of what not having access to healthy fruit and vegetables means from a very practical perspective. So Dr. Henri, take it away.
Sure. So good morning, everyone. And certainly thank you for having me. I really do appreciate the opportunity to speak about this. So I work at Eastern Virginia Medical School. And what I do is I do diabetes research, basically on people with diabetes and diabetic neuropathy. And so in that, we do cover healthcare disparities because African Americans, Hispanics with diabetes often go on to develop amputations and, they get ulcers on their feet. And so we really want to make sure that especially our research participants, we try to educate them on what can you do to increase or improve the quality of your life. And so one of the main things with diabetes and preventative measures for diabetes is not to get it. And so how do you really take care of yourself so you don't get diabetes? That means you have to eat well. And really what we advocate is that you shop on the outside of the grocery store. So those fresh fruits or vegetables are really key. Frozen, if you can't get fresh, then frozen are your next best opportunity. So sort of avoid the middle of the grocery store because those things have extra sugar, extra salt, all of those things that your body really cannot use. And so eating healthy is one of the most important aspects of, just good health in general. So whether you have diabetes or whether you're trying to prevent diabetes, certainly we all know someone in our family who has suffered from diabetes and maybe has suffered from the complications. So it's really important that we, actually be mindful of what we're putting in our mouths. So sodas and all those things are not good for us in general. So consuming lots of water, consuming, again, your fresh fruits and vegetables are very important. The other thing that I will say is that, lots of foods, they sit on the shelf because they have lots of preservatives. So anything, I read the back of the label. And so we want to also, look at the labels and teach people how to understand. So if you have lots of preservatives, in general, they're not good for your body. And so actually having quality food and being able to purchase it at decent prices is extremely important. And I will say that I have tried to go organic. Well, going organic is horrendously expensive. So can you imagine, not being able to afford just a regular apple, but then having to pay $5 for one apple that's organic? And so that's, in general, I think it wards off not only diabetes, but hypertension. So high blood pressure, when you have that extra salt in your food, is going to cause your blood pressure to increase. And so all of those things lead to multiple complications. So it leads to heart disease. It just leads to liver and kidney disease. And with diabetes, you also can get eye disease. Retinopathy you can get that, as well as what we study specifically, which is neuropathy, danger to your nerves. So really it starts with eating. And I cannot help mention that along with eating, exercise is extremely important. So it's important that we not only eat good foods, but that we also move. because moving and getting the proper amount of activity is good. So even aside from I know I have a sedentary job, so I sit down a lot. That means that I have to make myself get up, and I have to make sure I get in a certain amount of exercise per day. But those two things in general are two very large things that we can do to keep from going to the doctor and keep from taking so many medications.
Gotcha, gotcha. Thank you so much. That's very important. And that kind of sets out the pace around why having access to healthy food and healthy fruit and vegetables is important because it's an overall health issue. And we already know as Black people, I mean, I have my own very own personal experience, with medical people in the medical field in general, doctors not necessarily taking our issues seriously, not necessarily diagnosing us, trying to push pills. And so fresh fruit and vegetables, access to healthy food, and then that exercise piece is very important with regarding keeping ourselves healthy and being able to live a long time, and not only live a long time, but live a long time and be healthy, because nobody wants to live a long time and be sick, right? So we live a long
Right.
time and be healthy. I want to say hi to Steve Paget, who says eating organic will save on medical bills later. Balil Muhammad, who's suggesting that we contact Magic Johnson. So I want you to know that Sean Washington from our EVMS team, from our economic development team in the city of Norfolk, is in the background, and he'll be in our solutions conversation. But that's definitely one of the things we can work on, that we can look at, because Magic Johnson has made significant efforts to invest in communities of color and in communities that may not have all of the resources that they need in order to thrive. And he's been very helpful with that. So thank you so much. So Deirdre, before you and Alicia start our conversation, I want to give a little bit of perspective as to some of the numbers. And I am playing producer and hostess here, so I'm prayerful that I get this right, so that I don't know if I can show it to you, but I can tell it to you. The demographics within a quarter of a mile of the closed Save-A-Lot, we have a population of it within a quarter mile, 18, 1,814 people. In that quarter mile of senior citizens age 65 and over, we have 130. And in the owner occupied homes, there are only 24. Renter occupied homes, there are 715. And median household income, there's 13,000, it's $13,603. The median household income within a quarter mile of the closed Save-A-Lot is, and 61% of those households are without a vehicle. Okay, without a vehicle. And this is taken from data from, it's about 4 years old, but it probably isn't that far off. It's taken from data from 2016. And then within a half-mile radius of the closed Save-A-Lot, the population is 6,510 residents, or citizens, residents, whatever you want to call it. Senior citizens, 65 and over, within a half-mile radius, we have 535 senior citizens. And then home of the homes, the owner occupied homes within a half-mile radius is 195. And the renter occupied homes within a half-mile radius is 2,176. Renter occupied within a half-mile radius, and the median income within a half-mile radius is $13,694. So only $91 separates a quarter mile and a half mile of, I think I did that math right, of the Save a Lot in terms of the median household income, and then of in a quarter in a half mile of the closed Save a Lot, there's 53% of those individuals do not have a vehicle. And so I'm going to bring you another set of statistics when we start talking about solutions and resources, but I just wanted to give you that. And if you send me an email, I'm afraid I'm going to get like 500 emails if I tell y'all to do this, but and I'm inherently going to miss somebody. But if you send me an email, I can send you the graphic that I'm looking at. I'm going to try to figure out how to get it on the screen for you so that you can see it while Deirdre and Alicia are talking to us about the practical implications of not having access to a community grocery store or a fresh fruit and vegetables. And I will say too that we did have two other community members who had signed up to have this particular part of the conversation. One of them got called into work, so that's a good thing, right? And then the other one has not logged on yet. So if she does, I'll be able to get her into the conversation. But Deirdre and Alicia, let's talk about some of the practical things. So we know the obvious. There's no grocery store, right? That doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. There's no grocery store, and all you can go get in a walking distance is chips and a Pepsi. What else is there that people who have the access to a car and to grocery and have that access, what are we missing? What are we missing in practical application? Some of the things that your young people have shared with you.
I'm not going to answer that question right away. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You're a little choppy, but I can hear you.
What? You can't hear me, Alicia? I hope they can hear me out there. What I want to say first before I say, okay, well, I hope the
I'm
audience.
hearing you on this end.
Okay, so what I want to say before I answer your question is this. You gave a lot of statistics that painted a picture. I want to paint a picture too. I want to paint the picture of a community. Everybody in the world needs food to live, even if it's a potato chip and not what we want people to eat. We all need food. So imagine this. Imagine a community that is already experiencing poverty, all kinds of health disparities. Then there's high crime, there's a lot of tension. The community is being revitalized, or whatever the language that people choose to use to describe that. So people are leaving, people feel anxiety. And I'm mostly focused on young people. But it's all people, but I'm mostly focused on young people. And then a virus comes along and you have to stay home. And your parents may or may not still have their job. And you may or may not have supervision. And you may or may not have a computer to do homework. Or you may or may not have a meal all the time because the budget didn't account for you to have a meal because you would have been at school getting your meal. And it's creating all kinds of anxiety inside of your home. Imagine you're outside now, way more than you ever would because you would be in school, but you're out in the street now. Imagine all that's in the street with you that you didn't spend your time with before, but now that's where you are. So your summer started in March, but you don't have any planned activities, you don't have any supervision, and there's a lot of negative things to get involved with. So crime ticks up. So you have all of this is like a big weight weighing on people that already had a big weight weighing on top of them. And now I go back to young people. And then imagine that The only supermarket is leaving. So you're feeling all of this pressure. That supermarket is leaving where you live, putting more stress on your family, less food in your mouth. Think of all of the negative things that can result from this. Think of the inhumanity of the whole situation, because it's not just a supermarket that we're really talking about. So I really wanted to start with that subject, because I'm around young people. We talk to young people. We engage young people. It's not like teenagers are saying, hey, supermarket, this or that. They're not saying, hey, I don't get to go to school. This is happening. That's not the conversation. You don't really talk about that. You live that, and then you respond to that the way that you now are able to live. Are you feeling good about yourself? Are you being attracted to things that you maybe wouldn't have been attracted to before? Are you just sleeping, which really is probably depression, because you don't have all that you need and you can't take on another anxiety. You have enough on top of you. You can't take on, you can't even get masks to wear all the time when people are telling you to wear masks and gloves. No, this is another thing. You don't want to talk about it. You don't want to think about it, but you're living it. So I would say for me, most of the young people that I'm around, I will bring up subjects and I will ask them questions about like what is happening, because clearly I'm really concerned and passionate about finding a solution. They don't, for the most part, they really don't want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about another bad thing that's happening to them, but we better fix it. We better fix it for them, because they're not getting the things that they need. And like you said at the beginning, we need to fix it with a solution that doesn't just involve the government, that doesn't just involve corporations. I have a watch going on, and people are saying to me, please don't leave out the local farmers. There's Black farmers, there's other farmers, there's land that the city owns that's right here, there's churches. So I know that's the second segment, but I just wanted to pay respect to also the people who are on my line, saying that they really are here because this is important to them. So I'm really not hearing a lot, and I think we lost Alicia. I hope she gets back because she can speak firsthand, but that's
she's got a poor connection. She texts me. She's got difficulty connecting, and so if she pops back in, we'll definitely get her. I encouraged her to try to log back on if she pops back in, or she can also comment in the Facebook comments, and I can get her comments up on the screen as well. So yeah.
So do you have another question? I hope I answered the question inside of my major rant, because this is critical.
No, actually you did, because you were very helpful in putting that picture that you're painting of the stressors go to a lot of the health concerns that we have in our community, and you brought in the mental health. You talked about sleeping a lot, which could be depression, and that kind of sometimes is misdiagnosed as just lazy teenagers, and that's not what it is. They're depressed, and they don't, and you said too, they don't talk about it. And so that was that was definitely very insightful from a perspective of the young people. Did you have something you wanted to add, Dr. Henri?
Let me make sure that I'm unmuted. And so I will just say that Deidre, I think you're exactly right. That when you talk about health, mental health is extremely important. So although you may be feeding your body the right things, and you might even be exercising, your mental health and your state of mind goes into how your body interprets stress, and how all of those things interact to what really sometimes leads us to the doctor. And so when you even talk about stress eating and just in general not liking or not accepting life as it is presented to you, it's important to take all of the factors that you just mentioned, and you painted a very vivid picture, I will say, for especially the young people who really were sort of thrown out there without a lot of resources at all. I think the school system, the fact that they tried to provide still food for those children, even over the times that they were not in school, was certainly very important. But now it's summertime, and what do you need to do now? Because I know as a child growing up, I did grow up in Norfolk. I grew up in Poplar Halls, but we always went to some type of summer program. My mother kept us active, so it was very important that we were exposed to different people, different things, that we were stimulated in other areas. And so what you have painted is really very important. And one thing I don't know is, I don't know how this particular grocery store was involved in the community. I don't know whether they employed potentially young people as grocery store clerks and helping people stock. So it even going beyond the healthy eating factor, I don't know what resources it provided as far as some economic or stress relief. So
yeah, I can tell
you, I was thinking.
Yeah, I can tell you that it did employ people from the community. I know young people who were in our program who worked there, as young adults that have families now. So that's taking resources away. And another thing that I didn't mention is, right now we're in this critical moment where we're emphasizing that Black Lives Matter. And we need to think about that with this situation. Please don't say Black Lives Matter and don't solve this problem. Because when you don't have food for people to eat, when there's a food desert, that says Black lives don't matter. So if we're really, and we're saying to white people and other people, hey, you, Black Lives Matter, we better take care of our own people. If Black Lives Matter, we better have food in this community. This is not a time to point out and say we better, and I'm saying in all respect, Angela, to our city, Black Lives Matter, we better have food in this community. To business leaders, Black Lives Matter, we better have food in this community. For all of the people who want to do good, we have to roll up our sleeves, because and when you take this, I know from experience with young people, things like this, say to them, I don't matter. And if I don't matter, I'm going to act out. I'm not going to achieve. I'm not going to believe in myself. You're sending me subliminal. They're not really subliminal. You're sending me really loud messages that my life doesn't matter. I'm probably not going to live that long anyway. I'll be reckless. I'll be a lot of things, because you already said I don't matter. And then I speak mostly for young people, but we're saying this to an entire community of people. And even people who don't live in this community, if you fit this demographic, and the demographic starts with this complexion, and then it goes to income and all those other things. So if you can identify with any of that, be you poor white, poor Black, if you can identify with anything that fits under this umbrella, that's a diss to you, and you should be feeling like I'm not being taken care of there. So I'm not saying only Black people need to solve this. I'm saying it's a real we problem, and Black lives do matter. So I'm just like, I don't know what, like, I want to raise the roof and make sure we all, I roll up my sleeves every day. We're probably one of the only youth organizations that does have a program for teens to physically come to, in small groups of 8, with every safety mechanism in place, with an amazing experience. We do this every year, well, not covert style, but every single year, and make sure everybody, and it's a mix of young people. It's a great experience like the one you described that you had growing up. We make sure our young people don't get a "you're poor, here's a little something" experience. They have an amazing experience. And we worked really, really hard to make that happen really quickly. And it's happening because of partnerships with I can't even tell you all of the groups that partnered to make sure we're able to do that. But we're focused on the young people around us, especially because you can't, it's just not the time to do less. It's totally the time to do more. But like food, I just keep that. It's like the one word, food. Yo, that's what we're talking about. You can't live without food. That's my end of my speech. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, you got some amens over here, and if we had a collection plate, I'm sure it would be running over to help teens with the purpose, because you have clearly demonstrated not only your passion for the young people, but your passion for the community, and help to paint a picture for us about what where we are, and the importance of food. You know, it's really, it's like air. We can't live without air, and we can't live without food. And so I want to share some of the conversations. I agree, Kelly Stringer. Jean Stringer Kelly, I agree with you. The best way to get good ideas is to get a lot of ideas. Charlotte Covington, who she restated part of our conversation I mentioned at the beginning, but I'll post that. Let me see, did I do that right? Let me make sure. Okay, here we go. Bringing another corporate entity has not worked in the past. We need community-based solutions. We have, let me see, who else do I have here? We've got, okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about Berkeley. Somebody, wait a minute, who is it? Delvin asked about we can learn from other cities, and is hoping we can have this conversation about Berkeley. I've got a little bit of information about Berkeley in here, because ideally what we would be able to do is to take some of the solutions that we have here and perhaps incorporate them over on the South Side. The South Side has a little bit of extra nuances to that space, but there are still ideas that we can work through. Charlotte, wait a minute, hold on. Who gave me the 25th Street? I saw something in here. Okay, Charlotte also gave us the 25th Street Market in East End of Richmond as a model of what we could do. Someone asked, what do the young people do now? They, in the St. Paul's community, most of them, a lot of them hang out, so to speak, creatively and collectively and productively with Deidre and her team at Teams with a Purpose. So that's what a lot of the young people do.
Not a lot are doing it. Some are hanging out. We've been here Tuesday and Thursday with an outdoor program. We feed any young person up to the age of 19 who comes. That's through a partnership with the food bank. We do that food outside because we had to wait for clearance to start our programs, and we don't have an official clearance until July 1st. So we've been doing the outdoor, and then anyone who comes to eat and stays to help us work in the garden, because we have a horticulture and agricultural internship for teenagers. And it's not a lot of money, but they weren't able to do it because of COVID. So we took that funding, and then those teens who come for lunch, they get to volunteer to stay and work for an hour in the garden. And then we pay them in cash on Thursday. They work Tuesday and Thursday, and then we pay them in cash on Thursday for that job. And then those young people also have an opportunity to be employed, because our camp, we hire teens as co-facilitators and train them. And then we keep the garden program going throughout the summer. So that's another opportunity for them to be employed. But a lot of young people are they're not in anything right now. They really need to be pulled into something, and we couldn't do anything except that little bit on Tuesday and Thursday until the green light, which is July 1st, and our program will start July 6th. So yeah, they hang out. If you see people out on the half acre gardening, those are the teens, and it's, you don't have to sign up or anything. You just come, sign in, get your lunch, and if you want to stay, we find work, we make distance, we do it, we pay you cash, and yeah. So there are no other programs for them right now.
Good deal. All right, good deal. So, hi, Marie. Go ahead.
No, I
Did I
said,
miss you, Deirdre?
no, the last thing I was saying is we have been doing virtual teen programming, and we have thousands of people, young and old, who come on that Monday through Friday. We've been doing virtual teen programming since the middle of March, and we haven't stopped yet.
Great, great. Thank you so much. So we've got, let's see, Marie has joined us. Katie has joined us. Deborah Thorpe has joined us. Zachary Robinson listed a link here to donate. Zach, can you let us know for sure if that's to donate to Teens with a Purpose, or where you're encouraging people to donate? And I just want to make sure we're all on the up and up here. So in our next segment of our conversation, we're going to talk about solutions. And I think, Katie, this is going to work to answer some of your question here. And I think I have been able to figure out how to share my screen with you so that so that you don't have to email me for this presentation on the demographics that I gave you. And I'm going to give you, I'll show you those demographics that I gave you. I'll also share with you the Southside demographics as well, so that you can see some of the differences in the conversation. And also, I'm hoping that you'll be able to draw, there was an article I read that talked about grocery store redlining. And if you're familiar with real estate redlining, it was not letting people, no matter how qualified they were, live in certain areas. And it was a more of a, well, if you were white and you were qualified, you don't want to live in that neighborhood. And if you were Black, you couldn't live in certain neighborhoods, no matter how qualified you were. And it really created some racial segregation issues within our city, as well as other cities across the country. One of the things is that this is not just our city conversation. It's our city because it's happening to us and we live here. But this is a national conversation about how food chains and corporate America has a target audience, or they have an ideal client. And if you're in business, you do. You have a target audience, or you have an ideal client, or else you're all over the place. But what it's appearing to be is that target audiences and ideal clients don't include Black neighborhoods. And that's just not Black neighborhoods with lower income demographics. That's Black neighborhoods with all kinds of demographics. So Zach confirmed this is the link from the TWP page if you want to donate to Teens with a Purpose. We didn't come on this show with the idea of asking for donations, but the work that Deirdre does is so incredibly important to the city and to our young people that if you want to support her, and you want to support the young people that she helps and the organization, you're more than welcome to do so. And we're happy to include that in our in this presentation. Benita, hey Benita. Benita says it's green lining. Okay, I'll take that. Green lining with the green fruits and vegetables. I'll take that. And Nick is here. Nick says reach out to him. Nick Gabriel is here. Deirdre, he wants you to reach out to him. So I'm going to try to share this screen and get you this information on the screen so that you can have it and I don't have to be responsible for trying to email it to you and forgetting someone. All right, let me see if I can do this. I'm on, let's see, grab it. Let's see, hang on y'all, if I can get All right. Wait a minute. I'm gonna do this.
Thank you, community, for that. Any donation that will use to help the teenagers and the community, of course.
Absolutely. All right. I'm gonna try this with my screen here, and I'm gonna try to pull the. Hold on. Documents. What is it? Okay. Nope. That's not it. All right. I'm gonna try to get this back. All right. All right, so I didn't do what I thought I was doing here. So I'm gonna figure it out while we talk about, let me see. All right, so while we talk about solutions and resources. So solutions. So what are solutions? Solutions could be anything from the example that I've been using is, hey, I've got a cousin who's opening up a grocery store on Mars and they're interested in coming to the St. Paul's Quadrant, to, hey, I am one little person and I want to help and I will go and pick up groceries for senior citizens. Where do I sign up? And then it is anything and everything in between. As one person said already, it's a lot of solutions come out of things, and then there are times in a lot of instances where we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can just take somebody else's wheel and put our bicycle on it and keep it moving. And so before we bring in our I'm going to take out Deirdre and I'm going to take out Henri. And I think I did that right. I mean, I'm playing producer and hostess, y'all, so just bear with me. Um, One of the things that I wanted to point out as I bring in the rest of our guests is that in the city, we people kind of think we are responsible for everything, and to a certain degree that's true, and to a certain degree that's not true. And to the degree that is not true is that there are private businesses. There are private businesses that are in our city, and the city doesn't oversee them. I think I can get you in, Miss Carter. Okay, hang on. I'm gonna try to do that. Um, there are, so what I'm gonna do, Sean, is I'm gonna put you back in the background and I'm gonna get Miss Carter in, and then I'll bring you in as I need you from economic development, so that I can have more of this conversation. Okay, there we go, because I got 6 on the screen at a time, including myself. All right, so back in either January or February, we were hearing from the business grapevine, so to speak, that the Save-A-Lot was going to close. They were not very communicative with the city in terms of what their plans were, what their actual date was, and we started working. We started working with our partner at the food bank, Dr. Ruth Jones Nichols, who had a previous engagement this morning, but has shared some thoughts with me to be able to share with you in terms of what some of her ideas may be. But we started working with them, and we started working with their food partners to see how we could take some innovative ideas that have been done in other food banks across the country that she's witnessed and utilize as part of the solution. And I really want to reemphasize that the food bank is not the be all to end all solution, just like a corporate partner is not the be all to end all solution. But we were working on that. But we were working in a manner where we didn't know from the Save-A-Lot, and they would not confirm with us when they were actually going to close. So the example that I gave to Deirdre, which I think everybody can relate to, if you're preparing all these programs for young people and you've got all these people ready to go, and you don't know if the young people are coming on Monday, you don't know if they're coming on Wednesday, you don't know if they're coming this week, you don't know if they're coming next week, it's really hard to hold a plan together and hold people in limbo, or to even plan when you don't know what you're planning for and you don't know what kind of time frame it is that you have. So the city had been working, and we really we were in our infancy of working with this when we found out about the Save-A-Lot. And then COVID-19 happened, and COVID-19 is the reason for a lot of things happening and not happening, or contributing to what is happening and what is not happening. And so all of the resources and energy and things like that of the city as well as the food bank went towards making sure people were safe, making sure people were healthy, and making sure that people, again, had the basic food, right? Because there were so many people who were out of work and in need that had not been so in the past. So it is not that there was, because even when we said this in the St. Paul's Quadrant advisory meeting, it was Ruth reached out to me. She said, "Oh my God, they're right in our backyard." And she says, we're right across the street from St. Paul's. We've got to do something because they're right in our backyard. I understand we have issues other places, but they're right in our backyard, and we cannot be the food bank and not help with being part of the solution. So they, came to the table and have come back to the table once we were made aware that there was actually a hard closing date for the Save-A-Lot. Then we started to shift and flex our efforts to being able to come up with some solutions. And then it also helps that things are loosening up with regard to COVID and opening up the city. So just kind of want people to know that, we didn't just twiddle our thumbs, but we didn't have a whole lot of help with this, with Save-A-Lot, with information and being collaborative to help us to help. And so now that we're in this place where we got to do something, I want to make sure that we bring partners to the table. So I've got with me, let me grab my notes here. I've got Reverend Sharon Hall, Reverend Brandon Prelude. I've got Miss Carter Marie Carter from Norfolk Public Schools. I've got Karen Bailey from the Youth Earn and Learn. And who did I miss out of all? Did I get everybody that I've got? Who did I miss? I missed Christy. I'm sorry. I missed Christy. All right. I'm sorry. I missed you. I apologize. So let's talk solutions, because obviously the food bank isn't it by itself, right? Corporate America doesn't necessarily think we have to eat. So talk to me about what you all have as some possible solutions or ideas that we could work on.
Well, first of all, I wanted to point out can I say something real quick?
Yes.
Okay, so I was reading some of the comments on the Facebook live stream, and one person was asking, what is happening right now to help these people get food this week, last week, this week, like right now? And so I think our conversation for solution might be kind of two-part. What's an immediate solution so we can get these people fed? And what's going to happen in the future? What's our future solution?
Right. So immediately what we're doing is we're working on micro transit options that should be available this week with HRT and with the city. And for those who live in public housing, that information will come from or partner with NRHA to get the information out of where locations are, where folks can be picked up, where locations are that they'll be dropped off, and what those times are, as well as the bus routes that will directly take you to either the Walmart community market that's in Broad Creek, or the Food Lion on Collie, or the Swanky Harris Teeters or Aldi's, if that is what your desire is. But in the immediate, it's a micro transportation option. And then I've actually had staff start, as people have emailed me saying that they wanted to provide transportation. I have staff starting a spreadsheet of folks that could be contacted to help pick up, to help folks pick up their groceries and go to, and that kind of thing. Like, they can make their own personal arrangement with individuals who are interested in doing that. And if you're interested in picking up individuals and taking them to the grocery store or shopping for them, just shoot me an email and put transportation for food desert or something like that in the subject line at angela.graves@norfolk.gov, and I can, we can keep that running list for individuals to be able to do that. So thank you.
That's a good point in terms of what's going on right now. And one of the things that I would say is with Youth Earn and Learn Jobs for Kids, Food Deserts, being in this space is nothing new to us. Youth Earn and Learn is a local nonprofit, and we have been connecting healthy eating with helping youth, our seniors in our community since 2015. And so one of the things that we do is every week we make available our fresh produce grab bags. It comes in different sizes. It comes in different varieties of fruits and vegetables. If you're on a keto diet, we have a keto grab bag. If you're into juicing, we have a juicing grab bag. We have fruit only. But in addition to our grab bags, we also provide delivery service. So we have a fruit and vegetable delivery service. And we have been working with Senior Services of Southeastern Virginia, and we have been shopping on behalf of our seniors. We will shop on behalf of any of our clients, and we'll deliver the groceries to them. We do accept a variety of payment options. And so with that, it is the debit, credit, the SNAP, EBT, the PayPal, the Venmo, the Cash App, the Zelle, all of that. And what's unique about Youth Earn and Learn Jobs for Kids, and we have one of our ambassadors here, is we are all about keeping kids off the streets and raising our next generation of CEOs and entrepreneurs. And with our program, we actually incorporate our young people to be part of the solution. And my hat's off to Deidre. She painted such a perfect picture of what's going on in food deserts, and she personalized it because these are real people already being impacted by so much. And now you're layering on more and more and more, when the reality is there are solutions that exist. And what I can see is just more partnerships with government agencies, plus youth serving organizations, churches, so that we can incorporate, train, and develop our young people to be able to deliver these solutions.
And Angelique, can I add something?
Yes.
Okay. So I just wanted to introduce myself briefly. My name is Christy Ross. I actually live in New Jersey, but I moved here from Portsmouth. I was in Norfolk and Portsmouth for 12 years. I am a doctoral candidate who is studying community-based solution, or I'm writing my doctoral dissertation on community-based solutions to urban food deserts, and I'm specifically looking at Norfolk. I had chosen this area before I moved, and my chair agreed to allow me to continue studying Norfolk. And I just wanted to touch on some of the things that were both discussed in identifying the problem, and then some of the things that you've mentioned. I've been studying this for several years. I took a hiatus for 5 years, and now I'm just back into it for about a month, researching and writing. And initially, the problem was identified as a lack of access, that, you know, there weren't supermarkets within that defined, you know, the USDA defined it as a 1 mile radius. And all of the initial research that I was looking at, that's what it was saying, that it was a lack of access. But over the last several years, there have been public-private partnerships with government and grocery stores to bring grocery stores in by providing subsidies to the grocery stores to allow them to operate in communities where people can't afford the prices that grocery stores are charging, so that they can access healthy food. But the newer research is finding that access isn't the only issue. And so I wanted to share some of the sustainable, you know, community solutions that I'm coming across through research. Now, unfortunately, I don't have like the hands-on experience to know how sustainable and, you know, how well these are working, but it was touched on in the last segment about how the corporate solution is not the answer, and it absolutely is not. They're finding, you know, and then I think you also touched on the possibility for new community entrepreneurs. So in the communities that I've been researching, that's what's working. Allowing the farmers to come in with their trucks and sell in where the Save a Lot is leaving, that could be a perfect place, though the city may need to get involved to make sure that zoning would allow for it, for them to sell, their fruits and vegetables. And especially in a Black community, encouraging Black farmers to, come in and serve their community. There are across the country pay-as-you-go restaurants that have been developed where people can come in and have a meal, and if they can't afford the meal, they don't have to pay for it. But what they can do is volunteer their time to help support the restaurant. There are actually two that I know of in New Jersey. I've been to one in Raleigh, North Carolina. I've started looking at those also. They're starting to pop up around the country, and they're helping to feed the communities. And I apologize, I'm a little nervous. I haven't talked about this in front of a group of people before. Also, 5 Points Farmers Market used to have, and I don't know if they still do, and if they don't, might be an opportunity for a local entrepreneur. They had a van, kind of like a food truck, where they would come into neighborhoods deemed as food deserts, where they could bring fresh fruits and vegetables right into the community. Food trucks are also another solution that I'm seeing other communities doing. Local entrepreneurs are creating food trucks that are foods that people in the community love, and so you're creating new entrepreneurs there also. And small stores. I think someone mentioned the 25th Street Market in the East End of Richmond. So that's another option. And then ride shares, because especially, and I think you've mentioned the micro transportation options, but even long-term ride shares are something else that I'm coming across in the research that I'm reading, that are helping people, especially if it takes time to get some of these other solutions in place. Oh, and then community gardens. Community gardens are huge across the country, and urban spaces, churches. I know that Virginia Beach had developed a community garden in the land that was owned by a church. And there are such positive implications that also come from having that garden, because then you get people in the community involved. Like I think Deirdre was talking about that they have a small community garden. Mm-hmm. Did I pick that up?
Yeah, it's very close to
community. Yeah, community gardens are not only a way to, bring food into the community, but then you get the people in the community involved in their community. And, that was one of the biggest themes that in everything that I'm reading right now, is that you need to involve the people in the community and not leave it up to corporate grocery stores to come in and try to fix the problem, because it is a community-based problem, and it takes the community to fix it. And then I have one last thing that I want to say, and then I actually have to log off. I have a previous engagement, a previous obligation. The biggest problem that I have found beyond access is poverty and systemic racism. Those are the things that are creating the food deserts to begin with. And as a government official, or we need to, or as local, state, and federal government officials, need to start pushing to make food a right, not a privilege. We are the only industrialized country in the world right now where food is not considered a right. And then we need to start dealing with the issue of poverty, working to raise the minimum wage, and other things to help alleviate the poverty. And of course, I mean, I'm a white woman, but I am trying to do my part to teach my children, and hold my friends accountable, especially with everything that's going on right now, to make sure that we can eliminate both of these issues, racism and poverty. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I really appreciate you allowing me to be a part of this. I would like to keep in touch with some of the people who are a part of this group, if I might be able to reach out at a later time, because some of what I've heard so far, I feel like could be hugely beneficial in my research. And then I'm also going to try to follow up later to see what people have said about some of the solutions. So that's all.
Angela, how realistic is it for the city to take over the building and sublet it to be an indoor farmers market type thing, to also allow local business vendor?
That is something that we are considering and working with the landlord on. Some of these buildings have what you would call funky financing. And as happens in the Farm Fresh over in the South Side, they have, and what I'm going to do is, Christy, since you have to leave, I'm going to remove you from the stream, not kick you out. I'm going to remove you from the stream, and I'm going to bring in Sean from, thank you. I'm going to bring in Sean from Economic Development. Let me get him. Okay. Do I have you in there? Okay. They have this funky financing where there is a requirement by their lender that they have a major tenant, or they face some sort of mortgage escalation, which means rent escalation. And that's what happens with some of these. And that's one of the issues that we have found with the South Side, is that they have a mortgage escalation that requires and in their mortgage documents for financing, they require a major tenant. And if it's not a major tenant, then the problem becomes the escalation of the mortgage, which translates into the escalation of the rent. And that can make it not very feasible for smaller shops, smaller groceries or co-ops. But it's not something that we're not working through or working on and looking at how can we do this, even if it means maybe the city is the tenant. And
I was going to say, isn't the city of Norfolk major enough as a tenant?
Right, exactly. If the city is a tenant and we subdivide, it's just kind of a matter of working through that legality with them. But I want to get to Reverend Sharon here, and I'm lost. Wait a minute, hold on. Reverend Brandon is in here. He already told me he was the militant, and I want to try as hard as we can to stick to the time frame that we had. And but what do you all have? I know from a faith-based community, we've had some folks chime in about St. Mary's of the Basilica, who has their food pantry on Monday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. But those are, in my opinion, and probably others as well, those are supplements, right? They are supplements. They are not designed to sustain the community need of food. As Deirdre so eloquently put it, it's a 4-letter word, and it's probably the best F word that we could say. That's a 4-letter word, right?
Right.
Food for our community, food to be sustainable, food to be able to live. So I want to hear from our faith-based community on this.
I'll say first, and I think Christy was hitting at it before she got off. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Before Christy got off, she was hitting at it a little bit to the fact that the Bible says, Jesus tells us that we must care for the least of those, the sick, the homeless, those who are hungry. And it seems as if this is a perfect opportunity for the community and even for the city to come together to help this community in that time of need. I've seen a lot of comments and heard a lot about immediate solutions and also about long-term solutions. But what I think is the long-term solution is a policy solution. Immediately, I've been trying to gather up local faith leaders and see what we could get together as far as resources tapping into food banks. But eventually, that's going to run out, and we're not going to be able to keep up with that. We've got 3 different communities that were all within walking distance of this grocer. So that means we've got, as you said, 1,800 people to try to provide food for, and it's just not going to be enough to go around. So one of my recommendations is, I believe, beyond transportation, which I'm glad to see the city working on, because transportation is going to be an issue for most of the people who live in these areas. But we've got to look at a long-term solution where the city maximizes all of its resources to be able to revitalize this area and leave a grocery store there. When you look at the unraveling of communities, taking away the most basic needs is the first thing to happen. And when you take away food and grocery stores, that is the most basic need that people need. And Deidre spoke to that when she talked about the uptick in crime that may happen because of it. So the long-term solution has to be a policy solution, and the city of Norfolk is going to have to throw all of this weight behind it. I totally agree with the co-op solution where the city funds an actual supermarket. For these people in this community, many of them are already going to have to leave because of the development going on in St. Paul's. So the least that the city can do is show that in this revitalization, they still want to keep this community whole by making sure they have food, making sure they have resources. I think the church and faith communities can be a part of that, but we cannot be a long-term fix for that. We can only be a short-term stopgap for that. And we're going to need the support of the city, and we're going to need the support of other local charities and groups to be able to make that happen.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Anything you want to add, Reverend Sharon? You're muted. Unmute yourself.
Matt.
No.
Stay unmute for some reason.
And I can't. I
Okay.
may be able to.
See.
Are you good?
All right. I'm here having a problem with my audio right now, so I'm having a hard time.
We can hear you.
And I don't know what everybody said, and I don't want to repeat. I'm struggling here. The first segment I heard beautifully, took notes, which was the part that I wasn't a part of, but I needed the information. My church sits right there within feet of the Save-A-Lot. And since we've been in COVID-19, we have been having our services outside in our community, which have put us more in touch with our community. So in that way, COVID-19 has been a blessing, because I find that now the community comes to us for church on Sunday mornings, and they're coming more and more. So I'm learning more about the people in the community. Most of the things that Ms. Deidre said and other people were saying about I call it our community, because it is my community, because my church is there, and I can sit sometimes just in my car and I can watch as people just walk by me, and I can see some things that's going on right there in that community. And for them to just take that grocery store, and that's the only place those people had to go to get something to eat. Now, we do small things. We do feedings. I might do 100 meals, but even when I do that, they are so appreciative of it. and I was scheduled to do another one. I mean, we need to do some short-term things. We can be a resource. We can be a place that if anybody wanted to come and do something, there's I would call a backyard to the church that's pretty big and fenced in. If anybody wanted to, like, say, well, we can do this and we can do this, but we need somewhere to meet to do it. That the church is there for that. We do have a pretty big inside of the church, so it can be a place of a resource as a place. We do small things. I did talk to some of my people about maybe we can start doing, since kids are out of school, some lunches, healthy lunches with some fruits and some type of vegetable or sandwich or something like that. We can do those things. I did contact the food bank also. I was told they weren't taking any applications at this time. I contacted them about bringing the truck into the area if they needed somewhere to bring it to, if they wanted to, whatever they wanted to bring, that the church was open for that in order to see that the community gets food. So we are open for any and all suggestions, and we are there to roll up our sleeves and to help in our community.
Angela, let me also add
Yes.
that when we talk about transportation, I'd probably say my church sits in the Huntersville community, and I have ties to the Greater Metropolitan Church, which is where Reverend Hall is. I would say about 65 to 70% of those individuals who shopped at that store walked. Okay?
Right.
And they all walked within about maybe 3 or 4 different communities locally. So when we talk about public transportation, I know that the city is working on something for that, but we also need to try to tap some of our local businesses and local partners to see about food, to see about food delivery services. One of the things that
bring the food to the people.
Bring the food to the people. I was looking in the comments, and I was going to bring this up about a Chicago-based program that turns school buses into mobile grocery stores, which could be used to provide groceries to those who do use SNAP, EBT, WIC, and things of that nature. I've also been working with some local churches outside of the Chesapeake area. Outside of the Norfolk area, that are larger when it comes to food banks and might be able to sustain food as local churches put together some kind of delivery effort to get the food to the actual people. Because short term, that store closed this week, and the first of the month is on the way, and people are going to need to provide sustenance and food for them and for their children, because children become the X factor here, because not only are the parents and not only are elderly and adults, but those children who are used to having those meals in school no longer can have that. So we've got to be able to utilize all of the resources we have to be able to provide an immediate stopgap, but we cannot rely on that immediate stopgap. It has to be a policy issue, and it has to be something that the city focuses on as a part of this revitalization. One of the things I hear from some of the residents is, if the city is going to revitalize this area, why would they take the grocery store out? Why not make the area better? So it has to be a policy thing for us.
So, Angela,
well,
this is
I will
okay.
say to you, go ahead.
So I'm just worried about time, and I'm one of those people, I really hate being in meetings and to leave the meeting with no actual plan of action or solution. So for my personal, because I'm going to start taking some action, what can I do as a community member? Because I think the best solution right now is to get that building, to have the city of Norfolk take over that building so that we can get some farmers markets in there. What as a citizen can we do? Do we need to start a petition? What can we do to get the ball moving to help put the fire so that the city of Norfolk takes over that building? That's what we got to do, and we got to do it yesterday. What can I do?
What you can do is, if you have if you have an idea, proposition, what do you call it, concept that you want to be included, I'm going to have you to shoot an email to me and shoot an email to Sean, who's on this call in economic development. We are in constant communication with the city manager on this. There are some grant funds that we're looking at applying for. But if you want to be a part of that solution conversation, if you have a business, or if you have connections with Black farmers, if you have those types of things, those are the solutions in writing that we're looking for. Again, we're not looking to reinvent the wheel. We are looking to take the bicycle off of Chicago and put the Norfolk bicycle on the same wheels.
Even closer, if you do research, Baltimore has all kinds of things going on, and that was one of the biggest examples that I would find in my research. So yeah, I totally get the whole, like, there's lots of ideas out there and we can do what they're doing, but it's not necessarily, other ideas don't always work for our situation, right? So like, I understand coming with the ideas, but like, what is it going to take for Norfolk to take over that building? What's it going to take?
Well, first of all, it's going to take the owners of the building to be willing to do that. We also have to look at what their financing structure is, and if it allows for that, which we're in the process of working with Save a Lot. Sean, maybe you can speak to that a little bit. And I'm gonna take a point of personal privilege and extend us to 11:30. That'll give us 9 more minutes. But Sean, talk to us a little bit about what are some of the options that you've been made.
Take it from here, Sean.
I can. I think we might have lost Councilwoman. So thank you very much for everybody's
Speak
time.
up, Sean.
Oh, let me turn my volume up a little bit. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Couple of things. I've been taking an abundance of notes here. So thank you very much for the input and the feedback. I want to echo what Councilwoman said, that since we found out that this was going to happen, the closure of the store, my department and of course my supervisor asked the whole team to begin doing research, and that's what we've been doing, looking up financing structures, looking at grant structures to see what we can do to help bring this thing, as I say, over the hump. And I completely agree with what everybody said, that this is both a short-term and a long-term solution. What the city is going to have to put some focus into is, how do we do this right on a long-term standpoint? So a lot of people talking about different models that even I've read about. I think Richmond in the market is a great model. A couple of things happening in Baltimore and Chicago. All those things take time to implement. And if I think it was Reverend Brandon that said something, I mean, the first is around the corner, right? I mean, these individuals need food right now. And so there has to be some sort of focus that makes sure that the food delivery, the micro transportation, all those things are in place while we're working on the long-term strategy and the models that I think can be a great win for the community. Councilwoman said it best. Unfortunately, and I just use that word unfortunately because this is not a site that the city owns. Therefore, we are very limited on what we can and cannot do. So the first conversation is, can we reach out to the private owner and figure out what that financial structure he has in place, and based on leases, commitments, agreements, and contracts, what can we legally do and offer? So if I can give you a great example. So in that particular location right now, knowing that the store is closed, legally, the owner can remove all the equipment out of that store, freezers, countertops, things of that nature, which is something that unfortunately happened in the Berkeley Shopping Center. And so when we talk about financing and bringing money into place, somebody's going to have to pay for bringing those mechanics, as I say, back into a store in order for a store to operate as a supermarket. So the first thing that we asked the owner was, please don't remove those items out of that store, because that would allow us to hopefully find either an operator, local government solution, local community solution, something that can say, okay, we can turn this store, lack of better words, back on a lot easier and quicker than we could a potential Berkeley location, just as comparison. And it's safe to say that the owner has actually agreed to do that. The other side of this particular conversation that actually helps the city of Norfolk is that the owner is local. The owner is from this particular market, so he's well aware of what's happening in this particular community and in the rest of our city. Whereas in some other locations, it was a corporate chain. Only thing that they see is, as I like to say, an item on their Excel spreadsheet or on their balance sheet that says, oh, this is not making money, get rid of it. They're not thinking twice about, potentially negotiating with the city or working with the city because it's not profitable for them, so it's gone. That's not the situation that we have here. Again, we have a local owner and a local owner of that particular site. So we're able to have some more intimate conversations about finding a solution there. So what I would like to say is that, and this is what I know, is that we need to quickly figure out, as I like to say, who the quarterbacks are going to be. And it needs to be two quarterbacks. It needs to be a quarterback on the city side, and it needs to be a quarterback on the community side. Unfortunately, because of the reality that we're in as it relates to COVID, and I know Councilwoman can speak to this better than everybody, there's a lot of, I just use the word fires, that has to be put out right now. And it's hard for the city, and I'll say the leadership, to just focus on one particular thing. And I know this is of the highest of priority because everybody is right. Food is essential for anybody. Agree with that 100%. But somebody needs to be designated on both sides of that equation so we can keep laser focus on this particular solution. So it could be something that turns out to be a win-win on both ends. And I'm just give one more example, and then I will shut up in the essence of time here. One of the things that I've been able to research is there's a model on the West Coast in Colorado specifically. It's called the Mercy Corps model. And what that actually does is that it stands up a individual CDC or nonprofit. The nonprofit is the one that goes after the shopping center in this particular example. So they become the owner. The city plays their part by doing a couple of things, right? You just mentioned it there, zoning and whatnot. What can we do to kind of clear that path? Great, we can take care of that. If that nonprofit is not knowledgeable of actually writing and trying to acquire grants, the city can help do that, put that grant money into that CDC's hand there. And what happens is that they open up the ability to help close the generational gap in the community. So you're giving the actual residents in the community the ability to invest into that project, whether it's putting $10 a month, $5 a month, whatever they can afford. And then as that community supports the actual shopping center, and of course they're going to because they're investing in it now, right? The profitability of this shopping center puts money back into the community's hands. So it's a win-win all around. And so when you have models like that I truly believe can be a win-win, that's when you have to make sure that there are consistent eyes on it. And these are long-term things that it takes to stand up. So I think it's safe to say, and Councilwoman, if I'm speaking out of turn, please shut me down. But I think it's safe to say that the city is going to put kind of this all hands on deck type of approach to solve this. And yes, that equates to the city manager calling us individually and say, give me all the research and everything that you have in order for us to figure out where our flexibility is. But at the end of the day, we got to find out who's going to be the individuals within the community and whatnot that can help us stand this up and do it successfully. So I'll stop there.
Thank you so much. I want to take just a moment because Shantae Brown from Tidewater was able to get on and on the call, and she's been in the background for a minute. And because we didn't get to hear from her early on, I want to make sure that I give her an opportunity to give us her perspective as a resident on what not having the grocery store means. So Sean, I'm going to pop you out. And I'm going to bring in Shantae. And Shantae, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. We've got a few minutes left, and I just wanted to make sure that we gave you an opportunity. Like I said, we know the big obvious, it's no grocery store there, but what are some of the practical implications as a resident that you see that you feel like everybody else may not see that can help us as we move forward? And how do we get the community involved in this conversation even more?
Well, the way we can get, well, first,
because I actually had visited the store. I hadn't been there because of what was going on with the COVID-19 in like a month. So when I went there yesterday for the first time, they were saying a lot of people didn't know that the store was closing. Like no one knew that the store was closing at all. And it was like, well, how can they take this from us? They know that this is the only thing that we have, and I'm like, yeah, like how are we supposed to get uh me having a vehicle? I can go elsewhere, but I was speaking to someone yesterday about the situation. I'm like, well, there's certain things that I get from that store that I can't get from nowhere else because the food line doesn't have it. If I gotta go to the Walmart, I gotta travel 30 minutes up the road to go get it. So it's like a big hindrance. And I was like, our fresh fruits and vegetables that I normally get, I gotta travel elsewhere to go get it. So it's like I'm thinking about like the elderly and people that have to walk. They won't have a way to go get that, to get what they need. And like he mentioned, the first of the month is coming up. And what are those people gonna do? And what am I gonna do? I'm a mother of five. So time is limited most of the time. I can't, that's a quick run for me. Now I have to take more time out of my busy schedule to go do what I need to do. On top of that, like I know that I remember a year ago, like Tidewater Gardens had a ride share where they offered to take people to the grocery store that didn't have the means to. But no one haven't mentioned anything about that since we started like the relocation process. No one has mentioned about any other resources that will offer for that as well. Not even the People First office. They don't have a suggestion or what they can probably do to even help us as well.
Angela, I'll say
Okay.
this,
Yes.
that
Yes.
in the short term, Youth Earn and Learn stands ready to be able to deliver fresh fruits
Okay.
and vegetables starting Monday. We can be reached at 757-714-1789. That's 757-714-1789. We have one of our ambassadors here. I want her to introduce herself. We work with young people ages 12 and up, and we train and develop them so that they can know how to be part of community solutions, how they can run our mobile fresh produce stands. Due to COVID-19, we haven't been doing our pop-ups, our mobile fresh produce stands in the Southside Berkeley area, different places around the city. But we have been doing curbside pickups, and we have definitely been doing door-to-door delivery. So we stand ready to be able to support our community and being able to help them in this time of need. Let her go ahead and introduce herself.
My name is Janaya. I'm 15 and I go to Montgomery School.
So Janaya is one of our ambassadors. We work with young people ages 12 and up. And Janaya has been with us going on 2 years. Yeah, going on 2 years. And one of the things that happens when people purchase any of our fresh produce and our healthy treats, the money goes to help us keep kids off the streets. So she actually earns a stipend every 2 weeks, right? So the kids are able to earn money. They are able to be a part of the solution. They run the mobile fresh produce stands. They do the grocery shopping for the seniors. They go out into their community. They support the community. They help with other types of projects as well. And so we understand that there's a need for young people to be able to learn how to earn. We stand ready to be able to help provide that training and development and being able to, from now, moving forward, this is something we have been doing since 2011 and doing the fresh produce since 2015. We stand at the ready. We say we're here, we're able.
Right. Thank you
you.
so much. So in the interest of time, because we're at 11:33, I want to try one more time to get this screen share to get you guys these statistics that I presented, and hopefully I can get this right. And if I can't, I'll just email me and I'll send it to you, and we'll figure it out here. Let me see. Here. Okay. Can y'all see the PowerPoint? Is that what you're seeing?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Okay, great. All right. So I did get it right. All right. So this is a little bit of data profile on food deserts. And this is the information that I provided earlier with regard to the demographics from the quarter mile of the closed Save-A-Lots, with regard to the population, the percentage of homes without vehicles. I don't want to take it too fast because I know folks are trying to capture it, but this is going to replay. And then demographics within a half mile of the closed Save-A-Lot, as well as where you can see here where the Park Avenue market, the Spartan Market, the Walmart, and then the Harris Teeter way over there. And then with regard to the South Side and the closed Farm Fresh, quarter mile of the closed Farm Fresh, we've got a little over 1,200 people. 24% of them have no vehicle, and the average median income is $32,960. A significant increase in the difference in St. Paul's, yet we are still scrapping for a grocery store to get fresh access to fresh fruit and healthy vegetables. This is the location. This is the Shop and Go, which is not a healthy food option. And this is where the nearest Food Lion is, which is a significant difference. And then as well as the demographic within a half mile of the closed Farm Fresh, population 3,400, median household income down a little bit, 30,000, but then 30% of the individuals have no vehicle. And then again, this is the map that shows that. And so I just wanted to make sure that I gave you that information. If you would like to get more definitive information, our Civic Lab is open, and that's Peter Burick's contact information there, as well, in the Civic Lab in Norfolk, to be able to get more information. And so I just want to, okay, here we go. I just want to take the opportunity to thank you all for your participation. I know we went over a little bit, and in my mind, I knew I should have scheduled this until 11:30, but it is what it is. But thank you for your participation, and thank you for all of your comments, and all of your willingness to be able to help. And people have asked if I can put the resources on my page. Yes, I can. To all of the panelists, if you would just shoot me back an email with the contact information you give me permission to share publicly, because I don't want to share folks' information that they don't want me to put out there on social media. But if you would just respond and email me back with the information you want me to share publicly, I'm happy to do that and put all that on my at Angela Superward 7 page, and I'll also post it on my personal page, so you'll be able to find it either place. And just thank you. If you have options, solutions, if you want to be part of the micro transit with picking up folks or helping them get to grocery, we're more than helpful. This is a 3-part. We're looking at a physical location, we're looking at options for delivery and curbside, and then we're looking at transportation, and we're also looking at, more importantly, sustainability, because in 2 or 3 years we don't want to be having this conversation again because some other corporate entity decided that we were not worth it, when I know that we are, and everybody connected here knows that we are worth it. So thank you so much for your participation. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your heart and your resources to help. Thank you so much. Stay safe, stay healthy, wear your mask, wash your hands, and be blessed. Take care.
Peace and blessings.
Thank you. Okay. And